Alright guys, Scrappy again, so I hope you're all doing well and enjoying all day so far. The Halo World Championship is officially underway and Shotzzy is watch partying here, but also talking about what the situation is with former Call of Duty World Champion in iLLeY. He won the 2020 World Championship. The last few years for iLLeY have been very challenging indeed for multiple reasons, and a few weeks ago he did a free agency tweet looking ready to return for the new season. That though does not seem to be the case at all. Shotzzy talked about this a few days ago on his own stream. Now he's given a bit more insight into exactly what is going behind the scenes. The fact that iLLeY doesn't seem to want his help for whatever he seems to be still going through right now. Shotzzy's trying his best to help him, again, do what he loves, playing Call of Duty for a living, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be easy. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Plenty as ever to get into today. Firstly, let's just talk about the Halo World Championship because it's a big weekend for OpTic. Formal, of course, retired from competitive Call of Duty after the Cold War season. Can you believe it? Feels like a long time ago now. Obviously, OpTic Chicago were becoming OpTic Texas anyway. In hindsight, I think Scump basically said Formal wasn't super committed at that point to playing COD at the highest level, largely because it was all online. I mean, Formal had just played years of COD on LAN, and then a lot of it had gone to online that year, and obviously the year before as well in MW19, kind of killed his motivation on some level, and I think basically Chicago were going to get rid of Formal anyway. So he retired, was going to do content before realising that he'd still got it on a game that he actually did want to play, which of course was Halo Infinite. And we've seen over the last couple of years the success that he's had over there, winning the World Championship in Halo 2022, second place last year 2023, and the way the bracket currently stacks up, it's looking very plausible that he could potentially go and win it again, or at least make the grand finals again. We know that OpTic Halo have been in the grand finals, but they've just come second place for like all of the last several events. It's been a rough period of time, but obviously the top teams, as they tend to do in Halo, got the job done in the group stages. They beat Sentinels 3-1 as well to finish pool play 3-0. Bracket play starts tomorrow. He says Formal was frying as ever. So I think Formal has probably given his absolute all to this tournament, as have the OpTic guys. They've come second so much, they must want it so badly, this one, to finally get over the line. And Formal made it clear, we think he made it clear at least a couple of months ago, that yeah, this is probably it for his career in the Halo world. And then, well, is he going to return to COD? Is he going to do something else? I don't know. More than 3 years of playing Halo Infinite seems kind of unlikely. Even Scump was talking about this briefly last night and saying, look, it's a possibility that maybe Formal makes the switch back from Halo to Call of Duty again. But as I said a while ago now, if he was to try and do that for this season, he had to make that decision public a while ago so someone could have actually signed him, because, you know, as it stands, he's playing the Halo World Championship and basically every single COD team has got their roster locked in for the upcoming season. But yeah, this is just one of the scoreboards. Lucid had the highest KD on OpTic, but Formal had the most damage, 81 in 60, taking down Sentinels, and, you know, this isn't a bad team by any means. That sets up the group stages as follows. So, as always tends to happen in Halo, the top teams win, because there is a serious skill gap in this game, and also, you know, there is some skill disparity between the top and the worst teams, and, you know, you just don't tend to get upsets that frequently at the group stages. So, Space Station, they 3-0'd their group, pre-tournament favourites in many respects. OpTic, they 3-0'd their group. Shopify Rebellion actually 3-0'd their group. Cloud9 were in second, and then FaZe 3-0'd their group. So, yeah, Complexity ended up 1-2, which leaves the bracket, at least in the winner's side, as follows. So, OpTic are on this side of the bracket playing Into the Breach. They scrimmed against that team the other day, and they don't necessarily have the big names on their side of the bracket. Space Station, FaZe Clan, Cloud9, all on the other side of the bracket. So, you know, assuming OpTic win the 2 games they should, they'll be in winners against, you know, maybe Space Station, maybe FaZe. That would, of course, be the expectation there. But, yeah, OpTic's run to at least another top 3, if not another grand final here, is definitely on. And, well, we'll see how they get on during the rest of the weekend. Of course, today's Saturday. Everything will conclude tomorrow. But let's talk about this iLLeY situation again, because it's been a big talking point, burning behind the scenes now for some time. We saw, well, a few weeks ago, I think it was the end of August, iLLeY did a tweet saying, hey, unrestricted free agents, ready to go for the new season, like, bang my line if you try to win. He didn't say that. He said that before. Basically, that was the point. And then a few days ago, he deleted the tweet. And I don't know what's going on behind the scenes with iLLeY, but it's been such a sad turn of events because, as we said last time we talked about iLLeY when we were discussing this clip where Shotzzy said he literally thinks iLLeY's going to have to retire or is going to retire from playing because he just doesn't see him returning. He's not playing any of the CDLs right now. He's not, for whatever reason, and we don't know, and Shotzzy knows, but Shotzzy doesn't want to say because he feels like if he does say, that would break iLLeY's trust with Shotzzy. But then Shotzzy equally feels like if he doesn't say, then it's not helping iLLeY get the help that he needs. So it's a very complicated situation, and I think, it's worth discussing why many of us in the community, when that whole situation happened earlier in the year with the interview that we're always going to talk about, I think it's going to be a critical moment, unfortunately, in COD history. The general reaction for the community was sympathy, really, for what iLLeY was clearly going through here and what that meant for him and his future career, right? Because Shotzzy and Zinni, especially Shotzzy, made it clear the other day, 2020 World Champion, Shotzzy played with him for a good few years, had great success with him, won the World Championship with him on Dallas Empire a couple of years ago, and even when iLLeY was in the early days, right, I mean, Black Ops 3 CDLs and some other, other games such as that, iLLeY even was effectively the man in some respects that gave Dashy his shot, which sounds weird to say, but Dashy wanted to team with iLLeY in 2v2 CDLs in games like Infinite Warfare because iLLeY was like the most known S&D kid and he was the guy that people considered next up. So Dashy being able to play some 2v2s with iLLeY, that got Dashy noticed because iLLeY was that guy. And then of course Dashy was old enough to play before iLLeY was old enough to play. So the rest since then is history, right? But just goes to show what an important figure in the community iLLeY has been for near enough like 10 years at this point, like genuinely since 2015, 2016, certainly 2017, iLLeY has been known and talked about, and it was another few years until he can actually even play competitively when he was 18 for the 2020 season. And when he joined the league, everything was looking good, wins the World Championship, the very, a couple of years later he's on OpTic, like how could it get much better than that? Sure, the thumb injury happens, and maybe there's still some part to play in what's going on here in that, but obviously we know about, well, the interview related situation and whatever he was taking. I mean, obviously we're going to speculate. He said on Twitter it was caffeine, take it as you will. I wanted to share a couple of clips here, right? Because Shotzzy was talking like this on stream, like kind of you could see how sad he was about this whole situation because it's a good friend of his, but also Shotzzy is kind of unsure what to do because he knows there's something happening behind the scenes and maybe it's what we speculated on continuing or whether it's something else entirely and maybe multiple things. I don't know. It's tough to say. And Shotzzy is aware of this. He's talked with iLLeY about it, but right now he can't get a response from iLLeY and neither can the other people that have tried to reach out to him.
He's obviously at 11 there, bro. Like we all know this shit, right? We obviously know this, and obviously ever since he hasn't been in the the league and all this other shit that happened with him, like I've been throughout the entire season, I have been trying to like, I was always there texting him, like we've had phone calls and shit to like just for him to open up and like just talk to talk to someone. I'm not gonna lie, like it's to a point where like I need help trying to get him up, if that makes sense. Like I'm trying to help him, but there's only so much I can do. He hasn't been playing, like he hasn't like and I want the best for him. Like I want him to like do what he loves and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't want like any help. Like he doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like so how do you help someone that doesn't want to help? And I could sit here and be like, oh, like don't know where he's going and shit like that. The thing is that people have reached out. He's not reaching out to them. Like people have reached out to try like get like talks going, but like he hasn't reached out to them. He hasn't responded. He hasn't responded to me. Like it's to a point where like, bro, I can sit here and say like, I know what's going on, but like the fact that like I'm not telling anyone, I feel like is wrong. And I feel like if someone were to guide me like what to do and shit like that, then it's like I feel like that's more beneficial than me not saying shit. And his parents are trying to help, bro, but like I said, man, he doesn't want to help. It's to a point, bro, where like literally like I've reached out, we've had talks, shit like that, and like I know he obviously wants to play, like it's his fucking dream. It's the only thing he really cares about, to be honest. But the fact, like for example, you guys telling me to talk to Nick and shit like that, like that's like the next step. The only issue is I know the situation, chat, but I don't want to step like the boundary to where like if y'all know everything, then it's almost as if like he doesn't have my trust, and that's like the last thing that I want him to like think. But at the same time, it's almost like, bro, like it's to a point where it's like, yo, everyone needs to know so then we can like help you type shit. But at the same time, then it could go, and then he might think of it as if like I can't say anyone anything. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like it goes both ways, bro. It's just fucking AIDS, dude. Like a similar like thing. Low key. Fuck, bro, that shit just hurts, dude.
Chance to call themselves a world champion in their sport. So you better believe that everyone's bringing their A game here today. And I would expect Quadrant
hurts.
go if this.
So what do you guys think the situation is with iLLeY, right? Is it just the Adderall stuff or whatever, and it's a problem that he's dealt with and it's a problem that he's still dealing with, which absolutely could be possible, and I think, like, I'm sure it's a part to play, I would imagine anyway, of what's happening here. Equally though, is there more to it than that? Is there multiple things? You know, there are multiple things happening that iLLeY's struggling with. His family's trying to help, as Shotzzy says, I'm sure, and his friends like Shotzzy and others are trying to help and reach out to him. But like, if iLLeY doesn't respond to them, if iLLeY doesn't seem to want their help on this situation, then, you know, what can Shotzzy and others in Shotzzy's position really do about this whole thing? The only thing that Shotzzy can say is like, well, he wants to maintain the relationship with iLLeY. He doesn't want to break the trust. But Shotzzy obviously knows what's happening over there, and it may be more complicated than we initially are led to believe, or whatever, right? And Shotzzy feels like maybe if that was talked about publicly, then, you know, iLLeY would be not pressured into, like, resolving things, but you know what I mean? Like, if people were more aware of what the situation is, then there would be more public discussion about it, and maybe maybe it would help iLLeY get the help that he needs. But Shotzzy doesn't want to feel like he's betraying iLLeY's trust in what iLLeY has told him that he's going through and the discussions they've had. So it's very tricky, and you can see how difficult it is for Shotzzy as well. It's like, it's a really difficult situation. But and as Shotzzy says, it's got to the point now where he can't do this on his own. Like, he can't help iLLeY get the help that he needs and also get iLLeY back to where he should be, because, you know, iLLeY's still a young kid at the end of the day with potentially a very bright future ahead of him in esports and playing competitive Call of Duty. Like, that's what he's built for. That's what he loves to do. And that's been the case for so long. And the fact that now we're in a situation where iLLeY is not even playing COD, like, he's not in any of these chals that have been happening over the last few days. He doesn't seem to be, you know, has played the beta or preparing for the new season. And it's like, has iLLeY given up on that future, right? Like, does he think that it's not going to happen? Because if he was healthy and ready to go and things are okay, like, iLLeY is a guy that would get considered, right, and get opportunities, you would well think, in the league. I mean, we're pretty sure he did last season get a trial with the Minnesota Rocker. He played with those guys for maybe a day or so, I don't know. Apparently they trialed with him very briefly before deciding they weren't going to move forward. But he got a trial, it was considered. Maybe he didn't do so well in those trials, maybe there was other things going on, I don't know. But also at the same time, when you do a trial, you've got to, theoretically, the guy's got to get back up to speed again, I don't know. But a few months ago, iLLeY was still playing MW3, trying to get back on a league team. That's now didn't happen for the rest of the season, and now it's just not happening anymore. So yeah, I guess Shotzzy's got to figure out what he should do here, right? Like, maybe he can talk to some people on OpTic. They might be able to help them out to some degree, because obviously iLLeY's not on OpTic anymore, but whenever you played for OpTic, there's always that little bit of, like, family connection. And I don't even think OpTic ever officially said goodbye to him, did they, right? You guys remember when they did the Rambo goodbye tweet, and they never did the iLLeY goodbye tweet when he officially left. They did the iLLeY goodbye tweet the year before when they dropped him for about 48 hours, then brought him back. But yeah, just wishing the best, really, for all parties here. I think it's just a pretty difficult spot, and Shotzzy knows that, like, there's only so much he can do, and he's trying to find answers, Shotzzy himself, onto what the correct, you know, solution actually is here, how he should help, what he should try and do. What exactly is going on with iLLeY remains a bit of a question mark, but it would be just such a sad end to the story if iLLeY's career was to end here with such, like, a whimper, really, at the end of his time, especially given when he did most recently play, what a good player that he was. I mean, this was iLLeY's stage 1 card last season, and maybe it was, you know, artificially enhanced by whatever he was taking. I mean, obviously there's debate on that, but it's not like he'd be the only player out there. Anyway, he had the 88 overall, his Search and Destroy was especially good, his Respawn was very impactful as well, as we full know, and then Surge dropped him. And you know, there's also a question on how impactful that interview will be for his career, because at the time, it was a terrible thing for his career, and, well, it's undoubtedly a terrible thing for his career. What the community felt, why Seattle did that, whatever, right? We know the repercussions, we know that it was talked about, we know that he was, you know, in part clowned on by the community for this, in part sympathised with by the community for this. It is what it is, but equally, had that not happened, then would iLLeY have being, would it be better for his life that it has happened and he can hopefully resolve and deal with the situation that he seems to still be in, whatever it is, but we just don't know. And whether he is, getting help or being helped or has improved, we also don't know. Shotzzy seems to know, but we can't expect Shotzzy just to tell us all the details because, like, that's not necessarily fair on iLLeY's personal life unless Shotzzy, knowing the situation, feels like it might be for the best. It's just a really tricky one. But, yeah, as a COD scene, I think it's a real shame. I mean, people will, if let's say someone's taken a couple of years out of watching competitive COD, they'll come back and they'll be like, well, where's Scump or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, they'll talk about some of the players that are maybe no longer on the teams, but also, like, the fact that iLLeY isn't on a roster anymore would just be so confusing to people, given how, like, young he was. Like, Clay, for example, if someone came back after a couple of years away from watching competitive COD, there was no Clay on a league team, you'd think, oh, he's retired. And maybe he has, we don't really know. But if iLLeY's no longer on a team, you're like, what's going on? This guy was, like, the guy a couple of years ago. So, yeah, it really is an unfortunate situation, but very much interested in your thoughts, as ever, and all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.